When I was 17, I went to work on a Saturday in a care home. 1997, I remember it was April 1997, and I was there Saturdays for about 5 years during my student years. And I had a really, really uh, poignant and memorable experience in the first couple of months when I worked at this care home on a Saturday. I was only 17, so obviously I didn't handle it or understand it the way I might now. But there was a gentleman, he was about early 90s, I'd say, 90 to 95 years of age, and really, really skinny, in a terrible state, really gaunt, bedridden, and he was utterly miserable and wanted to die. He wanted to go. And my job at the time was to take people around the block in the wheelchair, take people out for half an hour, those that could go out or wanted to go out, and going around the rooms just talking to people. So, socializing with them, entertaining them. And I'd be talking to him, and he was really, really angry. This guy, as I said, he must have been 90 to 95 years of age, no quality of life, miserable, bedridden, really, really gaunt. And he was angry that the care home staff, obviously doing their job, they can't do anything else. He was angry that they were trying to feed him, trying to keep him alive. Um, and he didn't want to eat. He didn't want to stay here. He wanted to go. And he was really angry, and he was telling me about his frustration, his anger. I was 17 years old. I didn't really know how to process it. I was probably, if you like, I was probably a bit more I suppose, religious in a traditional conservative sense. Back then, I didn't have the broader views that I might have now of things. But he was really angry, and he was telling me, when I went to talk to him in his room, he said, "Why don't these people understand?" He said, "Why don't these staff understand? I keep telling them I want to die. Let me die. Leave me alone. Stop feeding me." He said it to the nurses in front of me. Why don't you understand? Why don't you get it into your heads? He said, "I've told you, leave me alone. I want to die. I've told you, stop it. Stop feeding me. I don't want this." And of course, they had to feed him. So I can't remember whether they had to sort of force feed him because he couldn't feed himself, or whether I think he may have been able to feed himself. So therefore, he probably would have finished himself off, if you like, because he wouldn't eat, and he was able to eat. I can't remember which way it was, but yeah, that was a really memorable experience. I mean, people who've worked in the care industry, or worked in hospitals or whatever, will have seen this kind of thing or heard this kind of thing many times. But this is a really big one for me because I only worked on a Saturday in a care home. I've not worked in the medical profession, but this guy had no quality of life, and there was nothing that could be done in this life. I mean, I believe in the afterlife. I believe in other lives. There's more than just this life. I passionately believe that. But he had no quality of life. There was nothing that could be done, and he decided he was ready to go, and he wanted to die. He wanted to pass on, whatever you want to call it. Um, you know, pass on, pass away, die. He'd had enough, and he was angry. As I said, he said to the staff, "Why don't you get it into your heads? I want to die. Leave me alone. Stop it. Stop it. Stop trying to feed me." And he used to tell me about it. And from what I remember as a 17-year-old, I didn't really know how to handle it, how to respond. I just listened to him. But I'll always remember that 27 years ago, and April 1997. And I remember he passed on, I think within a couple of months. But yeah, I mean, with the assisted dying thing, I'm thinking on my feet here. This is spontaneous. It would have to be very strictly regulated, wouldn't it? I mean, it's a minefield, isn't it? I mean, but if somebody's got no quality of life at all and they're just existing and there's nothing that can be done, to make it any different or any better, and they're just existing and there's nothing for them and they want to die, who are we to tell them that they shouldn't or couldn't or can't? And but yeah, how do you regulate that? It should only be in extreme circumstances, shouldn't it? But why would we be obliging someone or forcing someone or telling someone they should stay alive when they've got no quality of life and they're suffering, they're going to die, there's nothing that can be done, and they've decided they've had enough, they've decided they want to go? Why would we be sort of moralizing about that, or thinking that we can decide for them what's right or wrong? And who are we? Who are we to say that? I mean, who was I to say to that guy, "Oh no, you need to keep eating until it's your time, naturally, whatever that means, naturally, until it's your time to go. You have to keep eating. You have to eat. You must eat." Who was I, or who were those staff to tell him that? But then again, those staff were doing what they thought was right, or what they had to do within the law. They couldn't let him go. They had to keep feeding him, or trying to get him to eat. But yeah, in exceptional circumstances, I mean, I'm a sort of liberal Christian, you might say, progressive Christian, strong belief, strong faith. I believe in the afterlife, obviously. Believe in a lot of things, but I'm not sure why we would be forcing somebody or obliging somebody to keep on existing when they've got no quality of life and they're suffering terribly and there's nothing that can be done in this life. Why would we be telling people what they should or shouldn't be able to do? Or, again, in very exceptional circumstances, it would have to be regulated. But how do you regulate something like that? But the other silly thing that springs to mind right now, I'm thinking on my feet here, it's spontaneous, is people are going to Switzerland to do it, and it's legal there, and they're going to Switzerland, they're traveling to another country to do it, somewhere where it's legal, but it's illegal here. So how does that make sense? Why would it be okay there, but wrong and not okay here? And why, if it's legal in a sort of westernized, modern, industrialized European country like Switzerland, what's the point in having people having to travel, make that journey, to do it in a country here in Europe where it's legal? How does that make sense? Why not make it legal here? I mean, I'm hesitant about using the word legal because this is a real minefield. This is a big subject, a very sensitive subject. But yeah, thinking on my feet, how do you regulate this? How do you regulate it so that it doesn't become out of hand, or doesn't lead to bad things happening? Things that shouldn't be happening. Sort of, we don't want sort of chaos. We want to find some way of regulating this. But yeah, that gentleman angry and telling me as a 17-year-old who just started working in this care home about his anger at being forced to keep going. He said, "I want to go. I've told you guys, I want to die. Leave me alone." And of course he did pass on shortly afterwards. So yeah, that's something I'll always remember. Age 17, repeating myself again, waffling, but it has certainly made me. I haven't had many of these kinds of experiences because I haven't really worked properly in the medical professional care industry. So I've only seen this once. So it was a big experience for me, but it's kind of central to the way I'm thinking, and when I'm trying to form opinions, trying to think about this subject of assisted dying. This is a story. This is an anecdote. This is a situation which I experienced all those years ago, which I always think about. It's central to me, and as I said, this must be going on all over the country right now. Similar situations. Maybe you have witnessed it or seen it. Working in the care profession, or in the medical profession. Anyway, so yeah, we're talking about assisted dying. Yeah, perhaps a rather waffly, thinking on my feet, spontaneous video there. All thoughts and opinions welcome as always. Healthy, polite debate, please, and if we can be respectful to each other in our opinions, and keep it civilized and classy, that would be great. Thank you very much.